Hey, how's it going? So today we're making a box bag with the fabric that I bleach dyed last time. I'll link a card for that in case you want to watch me dye it. Let's go. So, for this project, you're going to need a cutting mat, cutting ruler, an exterior fabric of your choosing, that's a list of measurements, a lining fabric of your choosing, a zipper, don't use the one I'm showing here, details in the description, some interfacing, fabric scissors, thread scissors, a rotary cutter, and don't forget your pins and a marking tool of some kind. Okay, here I'm laying out the fabric to measure. I'm following a tutorial by So Many Creations. I'll link it in the description below. I chose to make the large size bag. For this, your largest pieces of fabric are going to be 10 by 15 inches. Lucky for me, my fabric was exactly 15 inches wide, which is what I'm checking for here. So I just had enough for the project. You'll need pieces this side for the outside and same for the lining. Here I'm cutting the strips for the pull tabs and handle. These are optional and the sizes can be adjusted for your taste. I believe I cut 2 tabs at 3 by 2.5 inches. For the handle, I cut 1 strip at either 6 or 7 inches by 2.5 inches. Okay, here's all your pieces. 2 exterior pieces, 2 lining pieces, 2 tabs, and a handle. Again, the tabs and handle are optional. Now to cut the interfacing. You don't need to be super exact here. I'm just starting by cutting 2 pieces roughly the size of the exterior and lining pieces, so 10 by 15 inches. Then, and I didn't film this part, I cut off 1/4 inch from each side. This would make the pieces 9.5 by 14.5 inches. This just keeps the interfacing out of the seam allowance and reduces bulk so it's easier to work with. The interfacing I'm using has iron-on glue dots on one side. Be careful when using this stuff, you don't want to fuse it to your iron or your ironing board. You want to put the bumpy glue side face down on the wrong side of your fabric. If you didn't know, fabric has a right and wrong side. You just need to press it with a hot and steamy iron for about 30 seconds or so. Just follow the instructions for whatever interfacing you end up getting. The first step in sewing this project is a doozy. It would be a difficult beginner's project, but at least it's all straight lines. We're already messing with the zipper. Here I am messing up on step 1. You're supposed to sew the lining and exterior to the zipper at the same time. The way you stack it is kind of confusing, but basically you have the exterior fabric right side up, the zipper right side down, and the lining right side down on top of that. Then sew along the zipper using the zipper foot. Oh, and make sure to have the zipper halfway open. You'll need this to turn the project out later. Here's a better view of the lining and the exterior on the zipper after I sewed both sides on. After that, you're going to want to press the seams you just made on the outside and the inside so they lay flat. And top stitch about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch away from the zipper. Here's a poor quality close-up of a zipper foot if you've never seen one before. Here, I'm pinning the edges opposite of the zipper for both the exterior and the lining. You'll end up with an exterior tube and a lining tube conjoined by the zipper. On the lining side, leave about 3 inches left unsewn. You'll need this hole for turning out the project in the end as well. Next, you'll want to line up the seam that we just sewed with the zipper. Then sew each of the 8 corners shut. Take your time here and sew them individually. Leave about an inch or so in the middle near the zipper for the tabs. If you're not making tabs, still leave a gap, it'll be sewn later. If you're making tabs, grab them. Fold it in half long ways with the right sides together and sew along the long side. After that, turn it out. This was a pain in the butt. Good luck. There are tools for turning out smaller tubes like this, but I don't have one. I ended up using a chopstick for the handle, but patience and my fingers worked best for me. Roll the tube so the seam is in the middle on the back and top stitch both of the edges along the longer side. This will give it a more finished look. Repeat for the handle if you're making a handle. Next is cutting out the squares in the corners to give our bag structured volume and its shape. For the size bag I'm making, I did 2-inch squares. You want to measure from the seams and from the folded edges. Don't measure from the raw edge of the fabric or it won't turn out right. Mark it with your marking tool, I had an air-soluble marker, and then cut along the lines you drew. Again, make sure you're measuring from the seam line and the folded edge, and repeat this for all 8 corners. This next step is also a little funky. You're going to pop up the corners and sew along the edge that's created. This is tricky to have sit well in the machine, so just take your time and you'll be fine. If you're adding a handle, pick one side and thread it into 2 of the exterior side corners and sew it into those corners with the handle on the inside. When you turn it out, it'll be on the outside. Here's what your bag will look like with all of the corners sewn shut. Almost done, now turn it out. Careful not to pop any seams and poke out your corners. The last step is to hand sew the little gap we left in the lining, and the bag is complete. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.